Hire take care of two boys is now accused of molesting them.
CBS 2 Orange County reporter Michelle Gilly tells us police are worried that there could be more victims.
Matthew Zacharzewski advertised his nanny and babysitting services on the internet. Police say they are concerned because he has a long client list. It was late last week when this nanny was arrested getting off an international flight.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew and I've been working with children for more than 6 years now.
Here is Matthew Zacharzewski on his website MatthewTheManny.com advertising his babysitting services. And here is his Laguna Beach police booking photo. The 30-year-old Costa Mesa man is in custody, accused of molesting two young boys in his care within the last year in Orange and Los Angeles counties. Police say the victims are 7 and 8 years old.
We're going to be looking at a long client list that this subject has to see if there's more victims, which at this point we feel that there are.
17 children have been identified and hundreds of victims are suspected. This perpetrator was arrested after boarding an international flight, very similar to the Epstein case, if you remember that one. What happened to Epstein? In any case, this must be where the groundwork is done with the nanny, the manny, they call it out there in Transylvania. Of course, many LGBT pre- and post-transition persons are involved with this type of molestation. Here you see exclusively boys, and they use the term molestation, but what they really mean to say is rape. But they try to play it down and spin it as if it's a little better. What they're doing to our children in public schools, how they're sexualizing and grooming children for this agenda, should blow everyone away. This isn't the America we grew up in. Instead, it's become a breeding ground for the Luciferian occult. And this all came out in 2016 in the WikiLeaks. They threw that guy in prison. Then people were talking about Epstein. He got snatched at an airport raid, and they whacked that guy. And the story's been buried because it's connected to everybody. And so it shows the connection, of this type of behavior to just about every profile you can imagine. People out there, most people out there, are basically participating in this behavior. That is certainly the impression we get from watching the news and connecting the dots out there. And the assumption now must be that wherever people are near children as a career or as an occupation, they are there to groom and molest your child. Whether it be at the schools or at the YMCA or at the Boy Scouts, wherever children are, these predators are waiting. And when you try to talk about it, of course, they shut you down. And, here in the, Amy Robach story, they had tons of evidence that they're sitting on. They're sitting on tons of evidence that people have never seen in a vault somewhere. This should scare the shit out of everybody because we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We've talked about, some of these fake news stories from ABC, the Smollett case, which, tried to spark a race war in America. You had them trying to cover up the Kurdish genocide with their fake tapes. And now we're seeing them present this professional looking video.
He's charged with 74 counts of possession.
We'll get to that. But, they've got now this presentation where, they're just outing the whole story. And why? Why is the question. We'll get into the Epstein story perhaps the saga continues. But this case here from California is really beyond belief. Now, of course, it's looking like the gates of hell out there because, you know, they've inverted everything. Good is evil and evil is good. Normal people are walking around looking normal on the outside, but on the inside, they're hardcore, twisted individuals. And you don't want to be mean here. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You don't want to be, you know, offensive. You used to be able to say whatever you wanted to say in America, but now everything's hate speech and it's automatically banned as, you know, some kind of extremism. But what we're talking about here is, you know, completely rational and supported by the evidence. But we're going to play a little bit of this guy's video. He reminds me of, you know, the California actors, the Peter Wood actors that you see out there. I mean, it's just an entire profile that people need to pay attention to. Let's listen to the perpetrator here before we sidetrack. From Manny from Costa Mesa. Hold on. The video guy is fired.
And I'm a 29-year-old nanny living in Southern California in a city called Costa Mesa. I guess the biggest thing for me is when I decided to become a professional nanny, it was kind of not something I had in mind and was focused on choosing as a career. It just kind of something I fell into. And I think for a lot of other guys that I run into also that do work with children, whether it's through ABA therapy or through the school system, or through the school district, or as coaches or camp counselors, they feel very similar to me. They don't.
Okay, so what you need to imagine is this guy kissing your children, okay, and then you start talking about who the fucking hater is out there, and the answer is quite clear. Of course, something must be done, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want you to understand out there that pedophilia has become so mainstream thanks to NBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the like, that, now it looks like your fucking neighbor literally is a pedophile. Because you look at the snapshots of the people that are arrested, and these are the people that you cross every day. It's your plumber, your electrician, it's your neighbor, it's your it's the kids' teachers, right? It isn't like it used to be, ladies and gentlemen. The numbers are growing, and this is part of the conditioning. Listen to this here.
He's charged with 74 counts of possession of child porn. Children as young as 3 months. Did you hear me? Children as young as 3 months.
So this is a recent press conference from the sheriff out there in Disney World County. They busted 2 more Disney World workers trying to pick up children. It's an epidemic, and these are just the ones they catch. The lazy ones, the dumb ones.
Ladies and gentlemen, it makes me sick to my stomach when I see this. But now I want to. We actually have counseling sessions with them, because this is the most horrible, nasty stuff. You just can't believe what they're subjected to conduct these investigations. You cannot believe what they see. And I keep being shocked when people suggest to me that, quote unquote, and I hate to hear this term, kiddie porn, is a 16, 17, 15-year-old girl who looks 25 and acts that way. Wrong. These are pictures of babies, some as young as infants in diapers, that are being sexually abused.
Indeed. I think this continues here.
And are still pictures. Some of this is a live movie of these children being sexually abused, with the screaming and crying and hollering. But if the people in the what I call the real world saw what we saw, they'd probably take up arms against them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what we're up against is the most vile form of evil that you can imagine. These people are everywhere, and everyone that talks about this stuff is a target. This sheriff has done repeated raids in his county, done press conferences like this one. He's become pretty famous in the law enforcement community. And I can guarantee you that, everyone that's out there making a difference is targeted by this system. And I think it's important for everyone to be aware of that. Everything has become so automated, so AI, that it's practically automatic for them to profile you and to strategize against you.
Hi there, my name is Matthew Zakshevsky, and I'm a 29-year-old nanny.
We're not going to segue into, people that are targeted, but it does happen. I guarantee it. Getting back to this story. Now, this guy was using the front as being, the California LGBT nanny coming to your door. And the profile is always the same. They get real touchy-feely with the kids, taking them to the pool, on the shoulders, the whole thing. And I think that most people, out there just wouldn't go there with kids that they just don't know. Whether you're a nanny or a teacher or, I think people should, kind of respect, your safe space, if you will. But these people are always trying to, normalize that kind of behavior. In any case, this is what's coming, ladies and gentlemen, as we're thinking about, these dastardly crimes on our city streets. We have to anticipate the rollout of every sort of bot you can imagine. They'll be just jumping out of the woodworks, if you will, invading your local sector, kind of like Minority Report. They're, announcing pre-crime, if you will. And, the problem with this system is that right now it's all under the control of the dark side. And they're using it as a weapon against Christians and innocent civilians. But these people are definitely after, the innocents and, good people out there, if we can employ such a term. And that's the essence of this enemy that we're up against. And they've got, all of the technology. They own all of the corporations. They have all of the resources. And you're out there, with a phone, which they can switch off at any time, a phone that they track you with, a phone that irradiates you, and the like. It is a very sinister world that we live in, and you can see the walls closing in. It's getting, more in your face. Not only the Luciferian ideology, but the tyranny as well, the roundups, the militarized police, the Orwellian, dystopian future that everyone has been warning us about for the last 100 years. You can see it before your very eyes. And so the question is, what shall we do about what's going on? And while, there are, raids, and while they do have some success stories, in the news, most of these cases really don't end up going anywhere. With many of these raids where they arrest 100 people, most of the cases drop out to, probation or something similar. And so the question is, what can be done about this issue, this, massive push to sexualize and rape children in America. And it's like every other, problem of its scale, you need like, a massive awareness campaign. It's kind of like, when people were drinking lead in the water, or, when polio was going around, they had, massive awareness campaigns, handing out brochures, commercials. They would teach children about it in schools. But right now, we're not really teaching kids about the real dangers. We're not informing the public about the real dangers, because the people that are in charge of the system are the ones that are trying to take you out. And so they're certainly not going to rat themselves out. They're certainly not going to expose themselves with a confession and say, look, we are in fact poisoning the food, the air, the water. We're trying to take out as many people as we can. They're not going to, admit that they put up the Georgia Guidestones, but it certainly looks like they're the ones that did it. Here we're looking at some recent footage of California, Gates of Hell. And of course, they tried to ban the Bible recently. And look at them now, ladies and gentlemen. And so I think there's a reason why there's a church in every single town. And it has more to do with what's going on than people might think. It's right there, in fact, in the DNA. Scientists have known for over a century that it takes life to get life. Even today, they can't, transform chemicals into some sort of living cell. They can clone, ladies and gentlemen, but they certainly can't make life from non-living materials. And the reason is because of the DNA. It's a programming language. It's a computer code. The little machines running around the cells, they act like nanobots. It's nanotechnology. We're living in an organic matrix. And there's really a whole lot to be said from there. But it's been well explained in the Bible for thousands of years. And the trouble here today is that you see everybody glued to their phone, everybody glued to, the television, and just living their little lives in the matrix, going from work to the bar and back home again. And, and they just do it over and over and over again. They don't even think about, why things are the way they are. Most people don't even think about how the electricity works when they, flip on the light. Haven't the slightest clue about, any part of it. Not the light bulb, not the generator, not the wiring, nothing. They have no clue what's going on in the world, the universe, or anything like that. But, they make sure that everybody gets to hear their uneducated opinion. And we see these Antifa, atheists, anarchists, libtards, Luciferians everywhere preaching their anti-life, pro-Sodom and Gomorrah, anti-Christian agenda. And of course, it's not by chance that these people, are simultaneously building up or forcing a buildup of the police state, because the more radical the Antifa becomes, the more, militarized the police will become in response. So, I mean, we're just seeing dark forces at work evolve, their system of operations. And, it's become so systemic that we're dealing with, multiple redundant layers, working on, every contingency possible, supported by AI, run by the devil, ladies and gentlemen. An intelligence, an off-world intelligence that has invaded this world and body snatched billions of people. And chances are, if you're awake out there, you are completely surrounded, like an immune system response. Demons everywhere that take human form. We wanted to mention something that we noticed with this latest Hillary interview, where she's laughing about the Epstein murder, and you can see that, you know, they've filled her cheeks in. They're nice and plump, but they used to be like, you know, sucked in like a raisin. And you can kind of almost see, you know, like the whole, like the big pod, you know, on each side of her face, and how it extends all the way up towards, you know, the temple there. It's, you know, at first you don't even think about it, but the more you kind of think about it, she almost looks like, you know, a Disney character now. Almost like, you know, half canine. You know, it's like I'm thinking of a certain breed, but just, I don't know. I don't want to focus on that too much. But I could just let this play. And the more now that you notice it, it's horrible. It's horrible. Time forgets no one out there, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy it while you can, because things are definitely heading right off the fucking cliff in a hurry, you know, especially with this rollout of 5G. Many people may appreciate the increase in bandwidth, but of course, there's no such thing as free out there, ladies and gentlemen. And what these death towers really are punishment in disguise, and they're just cranking up the juice, increasing the power little by little, you know, and they make it seem like it's just, you know, teeny tiny increments like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, but it's kind of like, you know, like the fission bomb to the fusion bomb to the mega bomb, you know. These aren't just like little baby steps. They're making huge increases in bandwidth and energy, exposure, and the like. And now more than ever, people are just being bathed in this radioactive soup of, you know, EMF. And, you know, some people think it's harmless, but, you know, the reports that we've seen, you know, unclassified and from, you know, reputed scientific laboratories, you know, the evidence is overwhelming. We're looking at something that definitely causes cancer, as well as many other issues with the nervous system, with the immune system, with behavior. I mean, this stuff really is a weapon, and it's just sitting there on your fucking street. And it's gonna be used as the backbone for, you know, the Terminators and the Robocops and the drones and the smart cars of tomorrow. You know, smart enough to drop your ass right off at the FEMA camp if you step out of line. Pre-crime, bitches. They'll say, you know, you were a terrorist, and nobody will think twice. Nobody will hear you scream. They just have to use the word terrorist, and you're fucking gone. And this is the same for everyone and anyone. You know, basically, no matter who's in power and no matter who, you know, the opposite people are, this system will be used and abused nonstop. And if you remember your history class, your civics classes, you know, the founders never wanted a central government that was, you know, too powerful, too tyrannical, and the like. And little by little, through Supreme Court cases and some legislation, we've seen these, you know, powers expand, and now they can just basically do whatever they want. They can, you know, use you as a guinea pig, poison the water, poison the food, poison the air, and there's nothing that anybody can do. I mean, if you look at the fine print of what the FCC regulations are with these death towers, it's like, whatever might be related to a health concern is not admissible in court. And it's like, whoa. Insurance companies won't even underwrite, EMF anymore in any of their contracts. Everybody knows this stuff is bad news. It's just a matter of it, like, it's just a matter of the bucket overflowing enough for people to realize that there's a problem, which is going to be more difficult than that sounds, given how many different eugenics programs are working out there concurrently. And there are so many, toxic substances that have been released into the wild that it is really becoming impossible to trace, what did what. But undoubtedly, the numbers are going up. Life expectancy is going down. It seems like everybody has or knows someone with an autistic kid these days. And that's a huge drag, on your family life. All of a sudden, now you have to take care of this kid 24/7 forever. And, you thought a newborn was bad. Imagine, 18 years of that. And that's, part of their program of destroying, traditional families and the like. It's now become illegal to talk about anything that's straight. It has to be crooked. It has to be twisted. It has to be, of the dark side, or it's not permitted. And I think that, while, these people are laughing now, they're certainly not going to enjoy the future any more than the rest of us will. Because as the society becomes more and more like the zombie apocalypse, as it becomes more and more like, the movie Terminator out there, it's not going to be fun for anyone. The only people that are going to, really benefit from this will be the ones that plug into the Matrix, right? They'll be hidden away somewhere, some sort of underground bunker that nobody will be able to touch, just sitting in, some sort of life support setup or whatever. But look, I guess that's besides the point. What will that be like? The wars between organic humans and those that are cybernetically enhanced. I don't think we're going to sidetrack into that either. Getting back to the big picture, what happened to Epstein? What happened to America? It just seems like it's cover up after cover up, Gladio B event after Gladio B event, and it's just like, they're grabbing at strings and they keep snapping on them, and they're so desperate. Just the floor is ready to give way underneath them. We just need to give them one last push. And what's stopping us right now is basically the censorship. The censorship is horrible. Nobody can really put out anything that has any substance anymore. It's all got to be fluff or pro conditioning, programming, and the like. And we need to be able to organize one way or another out there before it's too late. And that's going to require a push on every level, on every front. Don't give them an inch. Don't give them, a millimeter on anything in terms of good versus evil. Because that's what this struggle is about. And they're just trying to con you into allowing them to evolve with their program, with their agenda. And so, right now, behind the scenes, they've, opened the floodgates on all sorts of new toxic waste flowing into the environment. And of course they're, you know, trying to drag us into a war somewhere. And there's probably a few other things that we could quibble about, but they're always trying to, you know, do something. Like the rollout of these death towers, you know, that wasn't stopped by this administration. So, look, people can promote the mainstream, or they can promote the truth out there. And that's really where this battle is at. Truth versus lies, good versus evil, Christians versus anti-Christians. That's what's going on. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. That's baloney. That's bullshit. Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is really about, you know, Christians and the armies of the devil. And anything else is really a distraction away from what's really going on. This kind of brings us back to people just bouncing around in the city from place to place, not even thinking about, you know, the big picture. They just accept that they evolved out of dust. That was disproven a century ago. It's right there in the law of biogenesis. Life can only come from life, ladies and gentlemen. That's the reason why pasteurization works and the like. But many people are somehow hooked on phonics, and they're like, oh no, the school told me that I evolved from primordial soup. I come from soup. You know? Check out the documentary Unlocking the Mysteries of Life. And that'll really kind of blow you away, because you've got all sorts of, you know, university professors and the like explaining to you the science that you were never told. It's like people are living, like some people out there are literally living in the dark ages when it comes to what science really knows. And science doesn't prove that life evolved out of soup. Science proves that DNA is a programming language and that everything is a construct. And, you know, all the scientists are like, you know, we live in the matrix, we live in the matrix, there's codes everywhere. Yeah, there's codes everywhere. You know what that means, don't you? And people are running around out there, you know, selling their souls to the devil. Imagine if they held out for more. But, you know, they went the easy route, ladies and gentlemen. Now they're trying to rape your kids and, you know, basically poison the well. They're a Jonestown cult. If people, you know, don't take these people seriously, you're going to find out, you're going to wake up and discover that everything's been poisoned, everything's been tainted. All of these people are out to fucking get you. And you're just walking around smiling like, you know, everything's okay. Like, you know, it must not be happening. Oh, it's fucking happening. And it's, you know, it's an outbreak. These demons are everywhere. And their, you know, their profession, you know, requires them to be good at what they do. And that's just kind of a figure of speech there. But don't underestimate the enemy out there. It literally is a hostile takeover of, you know, world government by demonic forces that are trying to enslave and exterminate you. And their foot soldiers are everywhere. And you can tell them by their fruits. They're always promoting the dark side. They're always promoting the anti-Christian agenda. And if you're well studied in the Bible, you'll be able to pick out the deviations out there, the blasphemers, those that are promoting the murder of children, those that are making excuses for the Sodom and Gomorrah. These collaborators of the devil are not your friends, and they're just a Judas in disguise. You're either, you know, all in, or you're an infiltrator, ladies and gentlemen. A wannabe, if you will. Well, we all gotta look forward to something. The holidays are coming up. Remember what this season is really about. It's not about the Santa Claus. It's not about Black Friday. It's not about some fucking turkey out there. This Christmas season is about our salvation. None of us are going to get there without mercy, but it's better to get there late than never at all. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.